When Cash Patel was on here, and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
Let's pay attention to the ongoing and potentially pivotal Epstein files. You know, in spite of Trump's entreaty that we forget about it and it don't matter, people are still pretty interested, as we've said on this show before, because it forms a kind of locus of how deep state power might operate. Are there sets of individuals that have been blackmailed, shamed, I suppose is the word, through sexual conduct that's been recorded or otherwise documented that's subsequently used against them? I guess that's what most people think that the Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case refers to and points to. And unless we find a way of dealing with our shame, our sin and brokenness, these kind of levers will be used against corrupted and corruptible human beings who are all fallen and broken, if you ask me. Trump's answered a bunch of questions on the subject, but I'm pretty interested to see that Joe Rogan said that he knew that Cash Patel was lying on the subject of Epstein when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Let's have a look at Rogan's testimony. Forgive the word.
The Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Cash Patel was on here and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. My thought was, and people are like, why didn't you push back more? My thought was like, I'm just going to put this out there and let the internet do its work. Because there's nothing I can. The guy's saying there's no tapes, there's no video. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows it doesn't make any sense. And then he didn't know about the Michael Baden stuff, the autopsy stuff, where it showed that he had 3 broken bones in his neck, which never happens when you hang yourself. Even when you like leap from somewhere with a rope around your neck and it snaps your neck, you never have 3
and he's
broken
in a prison
bones.
cell. He's not launching himself off the first floor balcony.
The whole thing was nuts. And then he's like, well, we have a film. We're going to release that film. And the film has a fucking minute missing from it.
Yeah.
Like, do you think we're babies? Like, what is this?
Also, you got people, including Dan Bongino, right, making bank for a couple of years talking about how awful it is, and we got to get this shit, and this is a huge conspiracy, and then you release a 2-page memo that says, there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, because you're walking by your bedroom window and you see a little laser, red laser moving across your chest.
But it really is. It's so look. You know me, I'm not a conspiracy guy by nature.
You are today.
But I am today. Today. I'm fully on board with this shit.
Everybody's in today.
Yeah, no, but they're actually doing right as we speak. And I find this fascinating is that the Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche is down in Florida for an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. Right? And she's serving 20 years in a Florida prison for sex trafficking. Right?
To who though?
What's that?
To who?
Well, he's down there to interview her.
But I'm saying she's sex trafficked to who?
She was a co-conspirator of Epstein's, right?
But don't you have to have a person who you're sex trafficking to?
Exactly. And they talked about the victims somewhat during her trial. It was it was a very difficult.
So, like, Joe Rogan continues to point out that there are pretty glaring inconsistencies when it comes to this Epstein case. And I often feel like when something don't make sense, is because there's a concealed iceberg of data that without the revelation thereof, it will continue to be a sort of a muddled and confusing story. I remember there's a bunch of high-profile stories, in fact, all of them. That category of conspiracy theory stories, whether it's 9/11, the murder of JFK, the handling of COVID, UFOs, the Clintons and all the suicides, the reason there are these anomalies is because there's a concealed set of facts that were they revealed, it would all make sense. And I guess that's the case in this, the sort of conspiracy theory de le jour, the defining conspiracy theory of the Trump era. And the reason it's become so important is because it suggests that whether or not you vote for a populist and powerful and well-supported leader like Donald Trump, you still have an avenue of institutional powers that you cannot access. And I think that's really frustrating for a lot of people. All the more so after we covered the Bongino story the other day, when you get sort of weird cryptic posts where someone like Bongino who's lived in both worlds, this world, free speech, contemporary independent media, and now he's within them institutions of power, and he seemingly is stymied by the same interests and limitations. And I suppose what that does is it makes you wonder if the appointment of Dan Bongino was a kind of tactical appointment, precisely for that reason, because he's credible. Like RFK, I'm known for my sharp mind and my relentless energy. Do you remember that viral video of him using methylene blue to stay focused, energized, and mentally resilient? Well, now you can experience those same benefits with Recharge from the Wellness Company. This doctor-formulated nutraceutical delivers a never-seen-before combo of methylene blue, NAD, and PQQ, creating a unique formula designed to optimize mitochondrial function, improve energy, and enhance mental clarity. Methylene blue crosses the blood-brain barrier to enhance memory, focus, executive function by increasing ATP production. That's the true fuel of our cells. It also works as a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, helping protect against aging and cellular damage. If you're looking for a real mental and physical edge, Recharge delivers. If you use the code BRAND, you will get 10% off and free shipping. So go to twc.health/brand and use the code BRAND. That's my name. Feel the difference. Think clearer. Recharge. Let's have a look at Donald Trump answering these questions about Epstein.
On the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name?
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this: those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe, and then he gave out because he was 25 points down, and then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing, but she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris, but nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
That sort of makes sense, unless it was also so detrimental to them, because you've got to assume, some of them legacy names from the Democrats are going to be all over it. What do you lot reckon? Tell us. I personally feel like Donald Trump probably had sex with loads and loads of women, but I think paedophiles are pretty rare. It's pretty niche to be down with underage sex, and seems more likely that the people that pose as morally unimpeachable are the ones that you want to look at when it comes to the filthy, nefarious, devil-worshipping paedophilia. That's just what I think, though. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Thanks for watching the video. Have a look at this one over here, or join us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Rumble.